Welcome to The Humble Daughter, a space where faith, family, and real life come together. I'm Amanda, a wife, a mom, and a follower of Jesus, learning to find beauty right in the middle of the chaos. Around here, we talk about motherhood, marriage, and trusting God's plan when life looks nothing like we expected. Because even in the ordinary, the messy, and the mundane, God is working. This is where we learn to surrender our plans and find joy in the here and now, and see that every season, even the hard ones, can be finished. Today we are going to be talking about worry and anxiety and how that can keep us from just the peace that we deserve and putting our trust and faith in God, which is what He intended. Doesn't mean that if you worry or you have anxiety that it's bad or it's a sin, but there is an easier way. And again, I'm not perfect and it's something I struggle with every day. But I wanted to start this by introducing Pickles, our new kitty. And then I've got to go put him in the other room because he definitely won't let me focus. So let me go put him up and I'll be right back. You may hear Pickles whining outside my door, which is really sad. But I have to get rid of my gum. Hold on. This episode is strictly for those who have ever caught themselves playing out every worst case scenario in their head. This can have to do with financially. I think that's what I do the biggest is I worry about finances, and I'm always looking like big picture. I'm not just looking at today, like, oh, okay, today's fine. Or this week's fine. I'm always worrying about the future. Like, I'm fine right now, but what if I'm not fine if this happens? And I'm in a little bit of a career transition right now, and my husband started a new job, and everything's just kind of up in the air right now. And we're fine day to day, but I'm always thinking worst case scenario. What if this happens? What if that happens? And it can absolutely, I rob myself of contentment and peace and just trust in this moment. I tell myself that I trust God's plan and I trust that He will take care of me, but then I don't live that out because I am riddled with fear and anxiety. And this can be a number of things. It doesn't have to be financial. It can be health. It can be just daily, regular anxiety. This is going to look different for all of us, but that is the one that worries me the most. Today, we're going to talk about anxiety and worry and how faith can actually quiet that noise for us whenever we lean into our faith and we lean into the trust that God is going to take care of us as He has promised in the Bible on many occasions, and we will kind of reference some of that. But I love to always humanize everything and start by sharing my dirty laundry of it as something I struggle with. And I have to remind myself every day, but I'm getting better at it, and I hope you will too. Worrying about a problem, it kind of feels like just a little bit of control, or like, hey, I'm trying to do something about the problem, and it can feel like, okay, I'm taking charge because I'm worrying about it, I'm thinking about it, I'm planning ahead, and I'm trying to get everything figured out for the future, for now, tomorrow, and the future. I'm always looking way ahead, and that feels like a sense of control. And for a lot of us, that is we feel is necessary. Like, we can't just wake up every day and be thankful for what we have today, because what if this? And so we grasp onto that sense of control over the situation. Really, all that is a substitute for trust, which is what God's plan is for us in our lives. This plan is not for us to worry and fret about everything. His plan is for us to trust Him. It is very human to want to protect and prepare and to plan, but God calls us to something deeper. And I'm going to read a verse with you guys today. Let me scroll here in my notes. I wrote it down earlier. It's Matthew 6:25 through 34. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, but seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all things will be given to you as well. So He doesn't shame us for worrying. He just gently invites us to shift our focus. A really good verse to talk about kind of like handing over your worry to Him. Like, I know you've got this, and then in exchange, He will provide you with peace. All of this, of course, is easier said than done, right? It sounds good on paper, and when you're sitting in church on Sunday, you're like, yes, I'm going to go forward the rest of the week and I'm not going to worry. And then Monday rolls around, life rolls around, and it's really, really hard to stick to that, to not worry, to not have anxiety, to not think about where your next, paycheck, your next meal, healthy checkup is going to come from. It is so much easier said than done, and that's what I want to kind of dive into a little bit deeper on this episode. Something that is a habit or a pattern I found myself in sometimes was not really praying or coming to God until I had a problem. Whenever things are good, things are great, and thank you, but you go about your day and you don't lean in because nothing's wrong. You don't need to run to pray for, oh, please help me with this, please help me with that. And so sometimes having a lifestyle like that, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure God loves that we come to Him. But whenever you wait and you don't just show up every day with that kind of intentional putting God first and kind of waking up and grounding yourself with your true purpose, which is to not just go through the motions of life like a robot, working nonstop, worrying about things, it can make a big difference globally in your life. And that is something that I have tried to be a little bit more conscious of in this season of life. And I have kind of an example. Anytime you've ever heard of somebody having a major life event happen to them, whether it be somebody died, they get diagnosed with a terminal illness, something huge like that. The most common thing you're going to hear them say is, all these little things that I've been worried about up until then, I now see how small they truly are. All these things I was putting so much energy and time and effort into, it just really didn't matter. What matters is, my health, my family. It just kind of twists the narrative and changes your perspective, and you realize how much you were focused on things that don't matter. And that is something that I think is step one in kind of overcoming this cycle that we as human beings put ourselves in of worrying about things that we cannot control, but that God can give us peace for. That is step one, is don't let it get to that point where something has to kind of put it into perspective like that for you. I don't wish that on anybody. Us kind of coming to that realization of what truly matters without a major life event, and giving yourself a little bit of peace with that. And then once you are focusing on really matters, just every day, focusing on the day that you are in and that God has provided for you, and not wasting the precious day that you're in today worrying about tomorrow, worrying about next week or in a year, what's my job going to look like? What's my finances going to look like? Because what you're doing is you're wasting the days that you are given, the blessings that you currently have. You're literally just handing those back to God and saying, I would love to enjoy these and appreciate these blessings, but I'm too busy worrying about the future. Nothing is going to be better tomorrow worrying about it today. So I encourage you to lean into the fact that God has great plans for you, and only He can see your future, and each day is going to provide you with exactly what you need. We don't have to worry about the big picture. I'm speaking to myself right now. Like I said, I'm in a career transition. I'm worried about finances. I'm worried about all of these things that are yet to come, but they could come. I want to appreciate that and live each day thankful for what I currently have and get out of this cycle of worrying about the future. I actually had a really dear friend of mine send me a podcast link earlier today, because her and I have kind of talked about our life, a season of life that we're in, and she sent me a really interesting podcast this morning that was just like perfect for what I wanted to talk about on here and kind of how I had been feeling. And that podcast talked about, there is a verse in the Bible. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, I found it. It is Exodus 16:4-5. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for just that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions and whether they will trust. So this verse literally defines daily dependence. God was providing enough for them for each day. He didn't give them a week's worth or a month's worth, like, hey, don't worry, I've got you for the month. You're going to eat. He was like, every day, and I want you to come back and trust me every single day that I am going to provide for you. And this was a podcast episode. That verse was talked about, and kind of the lesson of that. It's a podcast by Caitlin James. She's a photographer, and and an entrepreneur, and talks about that. And I think it ties in really perfectly with what I'm talking about right now. So thank you to my friend Monica for sending that to me. But he didn't give them a Costco size bulk of this manna. He gave them daily bread because he wants a daily relationship with you. And I think sometimes he does the same with us, giving us just enough strength and grace and provisions, for this day, because he wants you close to him. He wants you to come back for tomorrow. And it's not to withhold so that you need him. It's just for you to lean into that trust and lean into that connection with him, and really putting your relationship with God at the foremost first step of your day. It will change and alter your brain chemistry, your heart, your ability to trust, and you can turn all of that loud, noisy worry and anxiety into trust and faith. So in my notes, I wrote it like this: when I try to plan my way out of my worry and hold on to things God told me to hand over, it spoils. Just like if he had given them enough food for a month, it would have gone bad. He gave them just fresh food every day that they needed. But if you had it in bulk and you wanted it all, so you don't have to worry, then it would spoil. So that kind of ties into Matthew 6:11. Give us this day our daily bread. Jesus literally echoes the manna story in the Lord's Prayer. It's not give us our monthly abundance, give us a year full of food that will never spoil. It's give us today what we need today. And he didn't say, give me everything I need forever so I can stop worrying, because that would be amazing. He said, give me what I need today, because faith is daily.